Ian Murray, in your speech today, you promised growth with a purpose. What's your purpose?
Well, the purpose is the four purposes we have in the Scotland office. It is growth, it's about green and GB energy, it's about Brand Scotland, which is about selling Scotland across the world, and it's about using all the proceeds for that to improve our public services and indeed tackle poverty, which is the fourth pillar of what we want to do in the Scotland office.
So tackling poverty, yet by scrapping the winter fuel payment for, in Scotland, the best part of 1 million pensioners, Age UK saying you're putting loads of them into fuel poverty.
Well, the Chancellor set this out in her speech earlier on today, and she mentioned the triple lock, which is really important for pensioners' incomes over the longer term. That went up by £900 in April.
And I'm sure Age UK are taking that into account, but they say you're putting pensioners into poverty.
£460 in April next year.
They say you're putting pensioners into poverty.
Well, it's really important that the winter fuel payment is devolved in Scotland, and it was the Scottish Government that made the decision to means test it the same as the UK Government, and they, despite their budget going up from that inheritance. Yes, but
it's not going up £160 million to compensate for this, is it?
But the bottom line here is that the triple lock is much more important. That's what we've protected, and the Chancellor was very clear about that today, because that has given pensioners £900 in April this year, £460 next year, and £1,700 over the lifetime of the Parliament projected. It's really important to get that across, because this is
Age
proper
UK
incomes.
Say that you're putting pensioners into poverty.
The triple lock has given £900 to pensioners in April this year.
You've said that,
400,
but Age UK still say you're putting them into poverty.
You've asked the question 7 times already, and I'm giving you the same answer, because the Chancellor was very clear about this. She had a choice to make, given the inheritance.
But you accept you're putting pensioners into poverty?
She had the choice to make about the inheritance that's been... She had the choice.
So she's made the choice to put pensioners into poverty?
Well, Colin, I can't answer your question if you're just going to keep shouting at me.
But you said you're going to keep giving me the same answer. I'm looking for an answer to that question. She's going to keep putting pensioners into poverty.
The Chancellor was right to set out today the dire inheritance. I think the country agrees with that. It's important to be honest about that. There's the inheritance that we knew about, which is the worst inheritance since the Second World War. On top of that is the inheritance we didn't know about. It was a £22 billion black hole. And the choice, the difficult choice that the Chancellor didn't want to make and didn't expect to make, but she had to make sure she stabilised the public finances on that basis. That's 3 times the Treasury Reserve in 3 months spent by the Tory government, who just went to the election and wandered away from this. So she had to make that choice. But the trade-off was she's kept the triple lock. That's a manifesto commitment.
Absolutely.
And there has to be trade-offs for that. These are difficult decisions. Nobody's denying that. But the bottom line here is these had to be made to stabilise the economy.
Can you be sure that scrapping the winter fuel allowance for so many pensioners will not cost any lives?
Well, pensioners on pension credit will get their winter fuel payment this year. The triple lock has given pensioners £900 additional this year. They'll get £460 in April next year. So it's about protecting and growing pensioners' income. That triple lock is really important. No other members of society get a triple lock.
I accept that, you've explained that. But can you be sure that scrapping the winter fuel allowance will not cost any lives?
Well, there's a big issue here about the cost of energy, isn't there? And that's why GB Energy has been set up, headquartered in Scotland, publicly owned, to try and get to that clean power. And fuel prices are going up next month as well. Clean power by 2030. That includes regulatory reform. It's a big mission of this government to get to clean power by 2030. Now, the key thing about that...
That's quite a long way away for a pensioner who's facing fuel poverty this winter.
But it's not a cliff edge, as you know, but it's about getting to clean power, because that brings down bills permanently. It also means you get that energy security, which is what we haven't had before, because of decisions made by the previous government in the last 14 years. We're clearing up an almighty mess here. I think it's important to be honest with the public how the state of that, and to show them where we're going in terms of how we're going to clear it up for a brighter future. That's what the Chancellor set out today.
But you can't tell me that you are sure that this will not cost pensioners' lives this winter?
Well, look, the bottom line here is that the pensioners' incomes have been protected.
But you can't tell me that. You can't give me that assurance here now.
The assurance is that pensioners are going to get their incomes protected.
But you can't assure me that this will not cost pensioners' lives.
Look, the GB Energy is being set up to sort the big problem about the energy side of it. That's about cost. The triple lock is about making sure that pensioners' incomes are protected. And the Chancellor set out today there'll be no austerity under her plans, because that's going to take the country forward. But you've got to fix those foundations. If we run away from those, it's pensioners that will be hit the hardest, because they're on fixed incomes, and therefore, if the economy crashes, like we were warned it would if we didn't deal with this £22 billion black hole, then the future would not look very bright for anybody, let alone pensioners.
Members are leaving, we're told, over this. Do you owe an apology to your members? Do you owe an apology to voters who feel let down by you over this? Do you know an apology to pensioners who are going to feel cold because of this?
Colin, I'll tell you who owes the country an apology. It's the Conservative Party who've left the mess that we're having to try and clear up. That is really, really important. You can't we're impatient for change in this country. That's what people voted for. We want to deliver that change, but you can only do that by fixing the foundations. Now, the Conservative Party have their conference next week. Maybe they would start with an apology for the almighty mess that they've left. They set the house on fire, and then they walked away. So we're having to clear that up. That's a really difficult thing to do. There's difficult decisions to be made, but we're going to protect pensioners' incomes and we're going to invest in public services. That's what the Chancellor set out today.
Talking about investment, are you going to invest in Grangemouth Refinery or are you going to let it close?
Well, we are investing. We've invested in Project Willow, which is looking at a much greener and much more productive.
Which you might say is a long way down the line. Are you going to let the refinery close?
Project Willow should actually publish its report probably in the next 6 months. We've got the £100 million growth deal over the line. That's a £50 million investment from the UK government and £50 million from the Scottish government. So we're putting everything into the site.
Your MP says that won't even touch the sides. He wants it nationalised.
Well, actually, an organisation that had already, Petronas had already said they were going to close this refinery. We have had 9 weeks.
You're not going to step in and try and save it?
Well, we've done everything we possibly can. We've had 9 weeks, Colin.
Short of stepping in and trying to save it.
Colin, I go back to the previous answer that I gave to your previous question. Hold on a minute. We've had 9 weeks in government. If we'd had 9 years or 2 years, we might have been in a different position to maybe do something more. With all of these big industrial problems we've got in Scotland at the moment, whether it be Mitsubishi Electric, Harland and Wolff, Grangemouth, we've done as much as we can in 9 weeks working in conjunction with the Scottish Government, and that should give a plan for a brighter future for the Grangemouth.
Very briefly, are you embarrassed by the freebies row which has engulfed your government? What you got involved in at the weekend when you took a freebie at the Liverpool game?
Look, everything is declared as it always is. I was with Scottish Salmon. They're the biggest exporters of food from Scotland for the whole of the UK. It's important to engage. Well, we're here at Party Conference. What we're here at Party Conference to do is to learn, to listen, to develop policy, and that's what we do. Everything's declared on the public register, and that's the right way it should be.
Ian Murray, thanks for joining us in Scotland tonight.